The dark psychology of junk food, the science of why you can't stop eating. There's a man who spent years creating dozens of different versions of one pasta sauce. Not a chef, a researcher. And his job wasn't to make the sauce taste good. It was to find the precise formula that would make people physically incapable of putting the spoon down. He found it. And that formula is now baked into nearly every processed product on grocery store shelves. His name was Howard Moskowitz. And to understand what he discovered, you first need to understand something strange about nature. Most foods in the wild are one thing, not two. Fruit is loaded with sugar, but contains almost no fat. Meat is rich in fat, but has essentially zero sugar. The combination of high fat and high sugar simultaneously almost never occurs naturally, except in one substance, human breast milk. It's the original food, the first thing your body was ever wired to crave. So when you eat something like a glazed donut, your brain doesn't process it as donut. It registers the fat and sugar combination as the most calorically valuable substance in existence, the same signal as breast milk. And that signal carries one ancient instruction. Consume as much of this as possible, because in nature, this combination was so rare, you'd never encounter too much of it. Evolution never bothered installing a stopping mechanism, because it never needed one. Then in the modern era, someone discovered exactly how to exploit that gap. Moskowitz held a doctorate from Harvard in psychophysics, essentially the study of how cravings function biologically. He'd already demonstrated, through earlier work with sugar, that every individual has a specific concentration that hits a kind of jackpot. Too little, and you want more. Too much, and the appeal collapses. But at one exact level, people keep returning to it again and again. He named this phenomenon the bliss point. His breakthrough method was almost embarrassingly straightforward. Stop asking people what they want, because they genuinely don't know and can't articulate it accurately. Instead, measure their actual responses. In the 1980s, Campbell's hired him to rescue Prego, a pasta sauce brand that was underperforming. The food industry's traditional approach was to chase a single ideal recipe, the universal combination of sweetness, texture, and seasoning that would appeal to everyone. Moskowitz rejected that premise entirely. He created roughly 4 dozen variations of the sauce and tested them on thousands of consumers, tracking precisely how much each person enjoyed each version. The results upended the industry's assumptions. There wasn't one bliss point. There were several, splitting the population into distinct groups. Some preferred it mild. Others wanted heat. And one entire segment, previously invisible to manufacturers, craved an extra chunky version nobody had thought to make. This meant companies didn't need to chase a single perfect formula. They could build an entire portfolio of products, each one engineered to capture a different segment of cravings. That realization is why your grocery store stocks dozens of pasta sauce varieties, nearly 20 types of mustard, and an entire aisle dedicated to cereal alone. The foods you love weren't accidentally delicious. They were deliberately engineered that way, backed by research budgets and data. The chunky Prego line alone generated over $500 million in revenue. But nailing the flavor profile was only step one. The bigger challenge was ensuring you couldn't stop eating once you started. Consider a Cheeto. It's specifically engineered to dissolve almost instantly upon contact with saliva. That's not an accident of manufacturing. It's a deliberate design choice. Food scientist Stephen Witherly coined a term for this effect: vanishing caloric density. Essentially, the food disappears so rapidly that your brain fails to register you've consumed anything substantial. Because the sensory experience vanishes that quickly, your brain doesn't log it as eating in the way it would a slower meal, so it never triggers the signal to stop. You can polish off an entire bag, and your brain will still behave as though it's mostly full. The food essentially destroys its own evidence as you consume it. But the vanishing calorie trick is just the surface problem. There's a deeper timing exploit happening inside your body. Your stomach takes roughly 20 minutes to communicate "I'm full" to your brain. That's a biological constant. It doesn't speed up. In a natural food environment, this delay was irrelevant, because real food required chewing and digestion time. So by the time the fullness signal arrived, you'd already eaten an appropriate amount. Processed food was engineered to outrun that 20-minute window entirely. Soft, easy to swallow, requiring minimal chewing. Which means you can pack in 1,000 extra calories before your body even gets the chance to flag that you should stop. Your sense of fullness becomes unreliable. Even your hunger cues become unreliable, and the consequences go deeper still. Researchers wanted to understand what repeated exposure to processed food does to the brain over time. So they studied a group of 150 healthy teenagers. First, they asked a simple question: how frequently do you eat ice cream? Then each participant was placed inside an MRI scanner, while a tube delivered milkshake directly into their mouth, allowing researchers to observe real-time brain activity. The milkshake activated the brain's reward center in every single participant, the region responsible for registering pleasure. But when researchers cross-referenced the survey answers with the scan data, they found something unexpected. The teenagers who ate ice cream most frequently showed the weakest reward response. The exact stimulus that lit up everyone else's brain barely registered for them. And it had nothing to do with body weight. Every participant was within a healthy range. The only variable that predicted a dampened response was simply how often they consumed that type of food. Scientists have a specific term for this pattern: tolerance. It's the identical mechanism observed in substance dependency. The initial exposure delivers the strongest effect. After that, the brain recalibrates downward, requiring increasingly larger amounts just to reach the same baseline sensation. You end up chasing a feeling that continuously diminishes. The more you consume it, the less reward it delivers, and the less reward it delivers, the more you're driven to consume. None of this, the engineered cravings, the invisible 1,000-calorie overshoot, the shrinking pleasure response, was designed by chefs working alone, or even food companies acting independently. In the 1980s, something happened that received remarkably little public attention. Tobacco corporations acquired major food companies. The same organizations that had spent decades perfecting nicotine addiction pivoted into the business of feeding people. Philip Morris, the parent company of Marlboro, spent close to $13 billion acquiring Kraft. In the years that followed, tobacco conglomerates ended up owning the companies behind Oreos, Capri Sun, Lunchables, and numerous other household food brands. The same research teams, the same chemists, the same playbook, now redirected toward food products. Then, in 1999, someone inside the system tried to sound the alarm. A senior executive at Kraft convened a private meeting with leadership from the country's largest food corporations. He presented data directly showing their products were fueling a national obesity crisis, and warned they were about to face the same kind of public reckoning the tobacco industry had endured over cancer. For a brief moment, it seemed like the warning might actually land. People in the room nodded along. The underlying problem wasn't news to anyone there. But then one of the most influential executives present stood and responded. His position was simple. Companies were just giving consumers what they wanted. Nobody was forcing anyone to eat anything. And fixing the problem wasn't the industry's responsibility. The room fell silent, and the moment passed. Collectively, the group chose inaction. The warning was shelved. The recipes stayed exactly the same. For decades, proving the actual harm caused by processed food was nearly impossible. You can't realistically track someone's entire eating history bite by bite. So, in 2019, researcher Kevin Hall, working at one of the most respected medical research institutions in the country, designed an experiment to get as close as possible. 20 adult volunteers lived inside a controlled research facility for a full month, with every single bite of food weighed and logged. For the first 2 weeks, they ate entirely whole, unprocessed meals: meat, vegetables, fruit, rice. Then the menu flipped completely. For the next 2 weeks, every meal was ultra-processed: packaged cereal, frozen dinners, chips, toaster pastries. Participants weren't restricted in any way. They could eat as much or as little as they wanted throughout the entire study. The moment they switched to the processed food phase, consumption jumped by roughly 500 extra calories daily, consistently. They weren't reporting increased hunger. They didn't consciously choose to eat more. It simply happened. Over those 2 weeks on processed food, they gained weight. Then, during the 2 weeks on whole food, those same individuals lost it again. Same people, same month. The only variable that changed was what was sitting on their plate. The food was performing exactly the function it had been engineered to perform. Your cravings were never a personal failing. They're a survival mechanism operating exactly as evolution intended, just inside a food environment that mechanism was never built to handle. Someone identified precisely where that system breaks down, and methodically, every natural defense your body has was researched, exploited, and packaged for profit. You lose this contest multiple times a day, and most people spend their entire lives blaming themselves for it. But this was never a fair contest to begin with. It was never designed to be one. There's one thing, though, that the architects of this system couldn't account for. A rigged game only stays rigged as long as the person playing doesn't realize it's rigged. Now you do. You were never failing some internal battle against your own willpower. You simply were never told there was an opponent on the other side of the table at all. What you choose to do with that knowledge is entirely up to you. But at least now you're making that choice with your eyes open. Like and subscribe for more content.